Hey everyone, welcome back to the KodaCast. Today we have Alex Rei with us, and we actually had a lot of fun getting your STI to the shop.
Yeah.
My first time getting into a car with
No doors.
no doors in a roll cage, but yeah, welcome Alex.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I love this place. I love what you've done to it. It's such a beautiful shop. I've been around a lot of shops in the world, and this is really up there, with the racing inspired memorabilia to the fixtures that you have. I know that attention to detail is very big for you, and I really recognize that. So I'm happy. I feel like I'm at home right now.
No, that's you've always shown us a lot of support, and we're really happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And have an opportunity to talk about your builds, your passion for cars, and we'll jump right into it.
Sure, there's lots to talk about.
So I want to talk about your passion for automotive, because that's obviously that's how we connected.
Right, absolutely.
Well, do you want to touch on your first experience going to Import Fest when you were younger?
Yeah. I mean, cars have always been a big thing for me. When I was a kid, like a baby, I couldn't sleep. So my dad would literally drive me up and down the highway to fall asleep. So believe it or not, my first word was car. It wasn't mom or dad, it was car. And then, growing up, playing the video games, I really enjoyed, I was never into Need for Speed. I liked Midnight Club Dub Edition, the customization. So I know one day I'm going to have a cool car. I'm going to take it to Import Fest. And when I actually got there, before I actually owned a car, I might have been 13, 14 years old. I went to Import Fest, and there was this gentleman that had literally probably one of the nicest Subarus I've ever seen. This is around 2005, 2006-ish, I believe. And somewhere around there at least. And I fell in love when I saw the car. You don't really get that experience very often where you see a car and you're jaw dropped, right? So I was just enamored by it, and I thought it was the owner. So I saw him kind of talking with someone. And as an early teenager, I'm all giddy, I'm all excited. I went right up to the owner. I said, "Excuse me, is this your car?" And I'm a huge fan. And I remember him turning over to me and saying very rudely, "Can't you see I'm talking to someone? If you like the car, just go look at it." And you can imagine, put yourself in my shoes as an early teenager, hearing something like that from an adult, it could easily break your heart. And I wanted to leave Import Fest at that exact moment. I was crying, and it really hurt me. An experience like that can easily change someone from being a car enthusiast to heck with cars. I don't want to do this anymore. And even as an early teenager, your mind isn't very developed, right? You don't really critically think and reflect and journal and stuff. Maybe some people do, but I definitely didn't at the time. But a few months went by, and I really thought about that experience and how hurt it made me. And I vowed to myself as an early teenager, indirectly, I vowed that when I got a cool car, whatever it was, right? And I take it to certain events, whether it's a regimented event like Import Fest or an outside little parking lot meet, I would never be the person to ruin someone's experience. I'll always, always, always make time to listen, engage, look someone right in the eye and listen to their question and answer it to the best of my ability, and, kind of share the passion. And so there was a very, it's one of those stories that I'm not really proud about talking about because it made me very sad. It hurts. It hurts talking about that sometimes. I kind of want to cry because it was a very impactful situation. But I'm humbled that I've taken that experience and I've been able to share my passion and inspire a lot of other people. So, yeah, it was a very great experience. And, it's one of those things that I'm not the biggest car person. There's people that will tell you the whole history about cars. I'm not that person, right? I like the nicer things with the cars, and it's very normal for me to go to a car meet. And if I see, a kid with their family, right? and they're like looking at my Subaru STI, for example, and they're like, wow, like look at this. I can kind of see them, right? So I'll go up to them casually and say, hey, like, have you ever been in a race car before? You like this car? And the kids are always like, oh my God, yeah, like this car is so cool. I said, go inside it. The parents immediately interfere in the conversation, like, oh, like, are you sure? Like, we don't know whose car this is. It's relax, it's my car. Have the kid go in. And just seeing the kid light up when I say that, open the door. I help them kind of MacGyver in through the roll cage. You had a tough time this morning, eh?
Yeah, it was definitely took a little bit to get used to.
Definitely.
But I've
KGNSX?
Probably not.
But yeah, like I would help the kid kind of go in there, and I would have them like play around with the shifter, hold the steering wheel, and it's those kind of moments where people always say like, Alex, are you sure you want to let some random person that you don't know, like some kid, go inside the Subaru race car? They might scuff the door, they might scratch something. I'm telling you right now, this is not something that comes across in my mind, because I want to inspire them. I want them to have a really enjoyable experience. So it's definitely not the first thing I think of. I'm already immersed in seeing their smile. It makes me happy as a car enthusiast to be able to share my passion and, again, inspire someone to do as something as crazy as that. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, no, that's thank you for sharing that. I think the way you handle the situation, because you can either go one of two ways. You can either let that really deter you from getting into cars,
which it did,
or kind of like make you kind of bitter about the whole car scene, or the enthusiast who owns the car. But you decided to take that opportunity and take a different route. You kind of tell yourself that, hey, you know what? I don't want that to ever happen to anyone that comes in contact with my cars. Mm-hmm. And I want to make that my mission, that if I ever get to a point where I have an opportunity to show a little bit of kindness to a kid, to whoever, anyone that is interested in anything that I do around cars, I want to be a better person. I want to be there to show them that kindness, and that really resonates with me, because
I know you're the same way.
We're like-minded in that regard.
Yeah, one of my biggest dreams one day, I have to figure out the logistics of it, but because I live in downtown Toronto, I live right next to Sick Kids Hospital, and I one of these kind of, I don't know how I would make it work, but I would love to kind of take some kids at Sick Kids for a rip in this car, or even in my M3, and just like really inspire them. I love kids. I've always been into helping kids be inspired, because especially with COVID, it's a very tough time for kids nowadays to feel happy about things. And I know that a lot of people are into cars, so giving someone an experience like that where they can be in a race car downtown Toronto, it's very special to me. So
yeah. We'll talk about that, and that's something that I would love to kind of be a part of. I would love for KodaWari to be part of that, because I speak about it all the time. My team always they hear it enough, and they're tired of hearing it. But it's only because I strongly believe this is what we're trying to do with our business and how we run our business, mm-hmm. is to show show everyone what we can do as a company, as an automotive industry, and kind of injecting some positivity back into how people perceive companies that are from the automotive industry. So
sure.
Kind of coming together, putting together like a charity event where we can give these kids an opportunity to not only look at the cars, but drive in the car.
Yeah.
Because, sitting in the car is nice, and that's a special experience in itself, especially with a car like, the STI.
But you want to engage all emotions.
Yeah.
Right?
But for me, the driving experience is
you
at
can't
the very
beat
top.
it. Yeah, you can't beat it.
And with a car like your STI, with my NSX, so many cars out there, it's that sensation when the car is ripping along,
I'm getting all excited
with
right
the
now.
exhaust and everything that really, will.
Well, again, like I said, it touches all the senses. You have the feel, right? Yeah, if someone goes in the car, they can sit around, play with things. But what about the smell, right? When you're driving, you can smell the racing fuel or the gas, and going over a bump and seeing what that kind of feels like, and seeing yourself actually and picturing yourself actually in motion. Like, oh my goodness, like I'm in an Acura NSX, or I'm in a Subaru race car. Like, I think you're spot on with that.
Yeah, so like we're hosting events where we give people an opportunity to experience these cars and to be part of our community. That's something that we're definitely going to explore as we grow as a company.
Yeah.
But paying it forward. I wouldn't be in this position. You wouldn't be in your position if we didn't have the support system that we had.
Yes.
And if people didn't show us the kindness that they did. So, that's
how the community keeps growing, right? It's those kind of experiences where, you're sharing your passion for someone. I can't tell you how many times I've been to car shows and events where, you're talking with an owner and they're not present. Mm-hmm. Right? They're thinking about something else. Actually, a really great story I have for you guys is when I first went to Import Fest, where I debuted my Subaru. This was before the roll cage, okay? My parents and my sister were at a wedding. They were not supposed to be there, okay? They were not supposed to be there. So I was under the impression, okay, like my first show, my family's not going to be there to support me. It's all good. I know that they have other commitments. And I remember talking with someone was asking me questions about my car. And in the background, I could kind of hear a very familiar voice, right? But I was so focused on the person that I didn't really pay any attention to it. Well, go figure. It was my dad's voice in the background, and he was talking with someone about my car, because I guess they were asking questions too. And it's just like, it's a very humbling experience when, you said about support systems. Like, my family is so big into, well, they're not car people, to be very clear, guys. They're not car people. But it's just one of those things where, I'll buy certain parts and I'll be talking like, God, like, Dad, Mom, like, I just got this really cool part. And they have no clue what I'm talking about. Or so I thought, right? Or so I thought. Because when that one moment happened where I heard my dad in the background, he was literally naming off certain parts. And you know how proud that makes me? For someone that is in a family, like I said, that's not in car people, my dad actually listening to me when I thought this whole time he's just like in through one ear, out the other. Mm-hmm. It makes me very happy as a son that, my family does care. They don't like supporting it financially because they think it's a big waste of money. Being in their job, they have executive level jobs where they're in finance. So it's like, this is a big waste of money.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you could have had like 3 properties by now with the amount of money that you spent on these cars. It's like, but we understand it's your passion and we want to support it where we can. So again, when I was at Import Fest, it was just very nice to see my dad and my mom and my sister surprise me and also share their knowledge of my car with random people, right? Imagine you talking to my dad at a car meet, like at an event. Like, how cool is that? That's kind of cool, eh?
That would be.
You're talking
cool.
to the owner of the vehicle's son or dad.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a really good story because, I just met your mom for the first time earlier, and I've met your dad before and your sister, and you have a very special family. They're just the love, just the support, how open and kind they are. I can see how that's formed you into the kind of person that you are today.
Appreciate that.
So shout outs to Roberto, Lisa, and Stephanie for supporting you and helping us get the car here. And
they do a lot.
Yeah.
They do a lot. But don't be, my mom, you got to watch her. She's the enforcer. She's nice. But listen, if I get out of line with my spending, she's like, Alexander, if you turn the BMW into this monstrosity behind you, I'm going to sell both cars. So she's tough. She's tough.
The moms, they got to be.
They got to be.
My mom's like 5 foot, 5 foot nothing, and she scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
She doesn't play. But yeah, no, I wouldn't. My parents were kind of the same way. They were, as immigrants, they worked so hard to give me the opportunity to kind of have and enjoy things that they never had back in Vietnam.
Right.
So seeing their son grow up and starting to dump all this money into cars, there was like, oh my God, you got to save up for a house.
Yeah.
Like this is going down the wrong road. So I kind of.
It's like deja vu for me.
Yeah,
it's like every day.
So luckily enough, they kind of encouraged me to help put the down payment down on the house, and now I get to enjoy both. So I have my mom and dad and my sister, especially my sister and her husband George, for supporting me, and we're hoping to pay that forward with our content, with building this community, and hopefully kind of sharing this passion of ours with everyone that we come in contact with.
Yeah, for sure. And like family, you touched on that as well. Family is very important to me as well. Sometimes it's, when you see someone like myself, a younger, I'm 28 years old. I have these 2 beautiful cars. You'd think that I'd be making like hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes people get embarrassed to talk about, the support that they get from their family, but my family has immensely supported both of these cars. My mom and dad literally bought this car for me. Right? And I'm not embarrassed to say that. I'm very actually proud, because I know that a lot of people don't have that opportunity, and I definitely don't take that for granted. Mm-hmm. I'm very, very fortunate to have the support system that my family does. And it's like, one day, like people, again, they might think less of that, but knowing me as a genuine person, they understand that they're okay with it. But, I hope one day when I have my own family, I'm sure we could all agree to that you want to do the same for your kids too. You want to pay for their university if you can, or, you want to support them, buy them their first car. I would do anything for my soon-to-be family, and I don't forget that. Like I said, they don't like these kind of cars, but I really understood as I've been getting older, and really what family really means, and what family would do for their kids. So it's very special to me.
Yeah. No, that's very cool of you to share that. And people are always gonna have their opinion on this and that, but at the end of the day, who gives a shit? Yeah. You're so grateful for them doing that, and it shows. And I know it's authentic, and you're paying it forward.
And I think that's another reason why my parents are a little bit more lenient with certain things. If I was an a-hole, they definitely would no, you're stopping right now. You're out of the house and stuff like that. So it's nice that at least my family recognizes that I am grateful, and that I do care about them and whatnot. So shout out to mom and dad and stuff. They do a lot.
Yeah. Let's jump into the STI, man, the origin story. Oof. When did you get the car, and give us a little bit of the history behind this car? Because I remember seeing it when it was like a very OEM plus.
State. That's why I like it.
And it was the cleanest STI I've ever gotten into. I remember telling Sherry when after we met and I got into the car, I was like, holy smokes, that car was so clean. It was so tastefully done. Mm-hmm. You had like the Veris diffuser. It just like very OEM plus, exactly like how
simple. Classy, simple. Well, first of all, my mom and dad are not going to let me drive some hoopty kind of car that's like out and about rambunctious. I mean, you could argue that this is already in that form, but the way that it's kind of all come together nicely, it's classy, right? Nothing's too overdone. But again, to answer your question, how did this all come about? Well, believe it or not, I'm going to tell you something. Would you believe this if I told you that I never actually knew about a Subaru STI? Would you believe that if I told you that? I mean, I knew about the bug eye, right? I would play Gran Turismo sometimes. I would love the World Rally Blue Classic Subaru 06 STI. But I never knew about a Subaru hatchback, right? It was never something that I was interested in getting. And the story behind it is my parents, my first car was a 2011 Volkswagen Jetta. Okay, I was in University of Toronto for business, and my parents said, "You know what, Alexander? When you graduate, right? You're in a very elite program. When you graduate, if you work very hard, we will buy you, once you're done your university, a brand new 2013 BMW M3, brand new." Right? Like first of all, whose parents would do that, right? But my parents worked very hard, and I was in a lucky opportunity to have that opportunity in the sense, right? So that was in my mind, like the whole time, right? I have my 2011 Jetta, like this car is like going to be bone stock, I'm just going to point A to point B, like commuter, which is not what I do, right? So I remember one time I was going to school, and at U of T, Mississauga, there's a parking garage. It's like 6 floors down, okay? So it's just a normal day, right? Or so I thought. And I enter the parking garage, my windows are down, and I hear this like loud noise. I'm like, what the heck is that? Like, first of all, where is that coming from? Because I can hear it from the top floor. There's 6 floors down, right? So I'm driving my little Jetta, I'm a little putting around, and I'm going level 1, level 2. I get to the bottom floor, and that's where the noise is originating from. And I see this like white-looking hatchback. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know it was a Subaru, but I wanted to learn more about it. So what I did was I parked my car like literally right freaking beside the guy. I guess he was leaving. I get out of my car. Listen how sketchy this sounds. I get out of my car. I go over to the guy's window. I knock on it like toot, toot, toot. And the guy, he has no clue who I am, right? So I knock on the window. He rolls the window down. His name is Carl. He's from China. His real name is Pager. And he ended up being one of my best friends. It's probably one of my favorite days of my entire life. Why? Because I said, hey, like, my name is Alex. I heard your car from like 6 stories up. Like, what is this thing? I didn't know what this was. And he's like, oh, like, he didn't have the best English, by the way, right? New to Canada. And he's like, oh, this is a Subaru STI. I'm actually in a little bit of a rush, but add me on Facebook. Well, let's connect, right? And this was, I think, around like 2011, 2012. And, Carl became a very good friend of mine. We would talk. I'm proud to say this, but and Carl can hold me to this, I taught him how to speak English to the degree that he speaks it at. He couldn't speak any English.
Oh, nice.
And he speaks like you wouldn't even know he wasn't from Canada. And he's back in China now, but just the love that we have of cars. And again, he became one of my best friends. And it was because of him that when he took off, right? He took off of the parking garage. I had to go to class. So he took off, and the sound that came from this beast, I'm like, to heck with the BMW. I want a Subaru STI. And it was just so special because, like I said, I knew nothing about the car, and I just became the biggest Subaru fan ever, right? I never wanted a Subaru. Like, they're fine, but it was different for me. And so I copied, or rather, I was inspired by, so I replicated his whole exhaust setup. And the exhaust that you drove today was the exact same setup that Carl had.
Oh, nice. So
it's like it's a very distinct sound. When the external wastegate kicks in, it's very loud.
Yeah.
But I was never supposed to get a Subaru STI. And then, like you said, the way that I built the car when you first saw it was very OEM plus. I've always been into attention to detail, being a detailer myself, not so much anymore, but the attention to details and working on a car and cleaning it and learning, the car in a very, very specific focus. You can start to appreciate cars and the little details that matter. So I remember, like, it was back in like the 2013, it was all about the forums. Like, I love the forums. I have a journal for my Subaru STI that's just actually recently racked up 100,000 views, and I have one for my M3 as well. And I've always been into telling the story online. Like, I type out my little posts, lots of pictures to get people engaged in what I'm doing, right? So I remember on the forums, I would look at like the rare parts. And it's just one of those things where, this car has a lot of parts from Japan, from a company called ARC. And the beauty of it is I really wanted to focus on the finer details that cost a little bit more, but they're really, really special. So what you see has literally the finest parts that money can buy. And it comes together very nicely. That's clean and subtle that even someone like my mom could appreciate, not being a car person and thinking that these things are tacky.
No, that's a pretty awesome story. So are you still in contact with Carl to this day?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough with the whole Instagram, and because in China, I guess they block certain things. But yes, we do still keep in touch. He's still one of my best friends.
Yeah, and I wonder if he had not shown you that kindness, if he maybe had brushed you off, like maybe that the other STI owner did, do you think that would have affected your trajectory as a...
Well, first of all, I would have had an M3 a long time ago. But yeah, I think it would have. I think it would have brought back those bad memories again.
Yeah.
But I'm happy it didn't.
Yeah. So two very contrasting events, two different owners, and it's cool to see the effect that it can have when you give someone just a little bit of your time and a little bit of kindness to share potentially what could turn into a very, very huge passion, a huge love for whatever it is.
A lot of the inspiration from what I've done has been because of Carl. Mm-hmm. So
how long after that meeting did you go and pick up Gabby?
Yeah, so Gabby was acquired, I think like a year and a half after. And I remember right before I got Gabby the Screamer over here, I went to Alpha Motorsports. My good friend Mo at Alpha Motorsports, he had a barbecue. And on my Facebook, I'll have to get you guys to superimpose a picture here, but there was a picture that I have, I still remember to this date, where there are 3 white E92 M3s in the parking lot. And that was the last real glimpse I had at, okay, M3, it's saying sayonara, it's vanishing off in the distance. And then that's when I got Gabby. And a fun fact for you, Gabby the Screamer's manual, right? They never made these cars in automatic, at least not in the North American market. I think in Japan they had some automatic versions. But I didn't know how to drive manual when we bought that car, when my parents bought the car. And a good story, this is funny. So our mutual friend Daniel was the sales manager at Subaru of Maple. Okay. And he was going back home to China to go back to his family business. So he knew that I wanted that car, the Subaru STI. It was brand new. So I'm the original owner. And he gave my parents like an IKEA deal. Okay. And what it was my 2011 Volkswagen Jetta was in pristine shape, like pristine. It had like 30,000 kilometers. But listen, Volkswagens, some advice, don't take it to heart, but they really depreciate. Like $30,000 car ended up being like $12,000 after like 2 years of owning it with 20,000 kilometers. So like he said, Alex, like we can really offer your parents maybe like $9,000, $10,000 for the car, but don't worry, I'm going to take care of you. So this car that you see right here was the Sport Tech model, which had like the sunroof, the fog lights, same power, everything, but more a little bit cosmetics, right? Navigation as well. And he's like, this car is usually around $55,000. But again, you're a personal friend of Carl, so we're going to be giving you $15,000 trade-in. Okay, so that brings it down to $40,000. But because I have the power, we're going to give it to you guys for $30,000 cash. Done. I've never seen my mom and dad pull out their credit cards or whatever. We were like, my dad tells us to this day, it's like the IKEA commercials. Start the car, like let's get out of here, you know. So he literally took off $10,000, paid for cash the day of, and as happy as I was now, it was one of those things where I started getting anxiety. Why do you think?
Because you didn't know how to drive stick yet.
I didn't know how to drive stick yet. So I remember the day that we got the car, Carl I think my parents dropped me off, or I don't remember how we got to the dealership, but we got to the dealership and Carl drove my car back home with all the stickers and stuff like that. Because again, being a detailer, I wanted to do all the what's the word for it? Like the PDI or stuff like that. I didn't want the dealership to touch the car, right? So he literally drove the car back. He parked it in my garage. I think we went and got McDonald's that night. We parked the car in the garage and I'm thinking like, oh, great. I got the car. It's awesome. But like, what do I do now? And I remember, for those of you who are watching this that don't know, in Mississauga, where we live, there is a hill. I call it the Hill of Death. It's at Vic Johnson. And for those of you who don't know, Vic Johnson, it's like a community center, and the incline of the hill is like that. So Carl's like, okay, Alex, you're gonna learn how to drive manual today. You're not going to go to the GO train station, which is like flat grounds and it's like no unnecessary obstructions. You're going to go to a busy place, which is a parking lot where there's a bunch of hockey parents, and you're going to make it up the hill. I'm thinking like, oh yeah, it's up the hill. Big deal, right? Holy cow, I must have stalled the car like 40 times. Now I'm telling you right now, I wanted to go back to my Volkswagen Jetta. Like, no, I don't care. I'm like, Carl, I don't want to do this anymore, buddy. Like, take this thing back. I don't like it. But he's like, no. Like, this is a very rewarding experience, driving manual. It's a skill to have. And like, my family, we like to travel a lot. My parents don't know how to drive manual, right? So when we go to Portugal and stuff like that, I am now the designated driver. Thank you very much. So that's one of the things. I'm very proud that Carl still, like I said, Carl's one of my best friends. He's played such an integral role of who I am today, because he taught me that, you know what, things are going to be tough. It's not always going to be easy, not always going to be silver spoon fed. You're going to do this and you're going to persevere. And now I'm going to tell you, we went back to Vic Johnson like 2 or 3 weeks. And I made it up the hill after like the 3rd week, right? So, and I'm a pretty good driver now. I got my heel-toe downshifting. I know how to do all that, guys. But I'm thankful of that experience that, you know, if you don't know how to drive manual, you got to push yourself. It's one of those things where I think buying the car and not knowing how to do it, I'm thankful I had Carl, because, again, I don't think I would have felt comfortable to drive it from, 60 kilometers away from my parents' house, right? So sometimes you just got to rip the Band-Aid off, just go for it.
Yeah, no, that's funny that Carl brought you to a hill and with that much of an incline. Because anyone who knows that when you're first learning to drive stick, hills are extremely scary.
Yeah, and I don't know what he was thinking. He's a tough marker if he was a teacher, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely trial by fire. Because I know that you taught your sister to drive stick as well.
That's right. Not in this car, though.
Did you take Stephanie to a hill with a steep incline too? Or
come on, man! You're looking at me like that. Like, no, I'm a softie at heart, man. Carl's like my mom. He's an enforcer, right? I went easy on Steph. I took Steph to learn how to drive manual in my M3 at the GO train station. A little bit selfish reasons. You know why? Is because I have 2 cars. So I'm like, you know what, Steph? If I want to go to these shows, I don't want to have to go back and forth. I need someone to drive one of my cars to the show. And I'm like, I think you've always wanted to learn, right? Right? I'm like nudging her, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know what? She loves it. It's one of those things where I can see her being passionate. She likes cars, right? I think her next car is going to be a C63. Like, she loves Mercedes. So yeah, I taught Steph how to drive in the M3. I don't know if she'd feel comfortable driving this thing, but she can drive manual. I think I want to do a video of her driving it. She still needs some work.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun teaching a bunch of our team members how to drive stick.
Yeah,
we taught Cindy, we taught Kang, we taught Steven, and Nick.
And Nick, wow.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun.
What cars are you teaching them in? Don't tell me you took them in the NSX.
It's funny because the video that we put together, it was
on your channel.
It was a joke. It was like we were kind of playing along the story of they were thinking that they were going to be able to learn on the NSX, but we pulled out the NSX, and instead behind it was like a stock Mazda 3.
I saw that video.
Mazda 3. And,
that was good.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. They actually did a really good job. but we didn't shove them on a very steep hill, which we should have.
You should have.
But that car had to go back because it was the lease return.
Yes.
I didn't want to destroy the car because that might have happened with.
Yeah, Steph, I had to buy a new clutch. Thank you very much.
So that's still the original clutch that you installed.
This is still the original clutch. This is a clutch from 2013, which I've stalled numerous times. But thankfully, once the stalling was done, I have not stalled it since. You didn't stall it on the way here, did you?
No, but I stalled an STI earlier this morning, and Steven heard me. He poked his head out, and he was like, "Oh, I got you." But yeah, that's So you got the STI. You learned how to drive stick. Where did the inspiration for the build go? Like, how did it go from
like an OEM
plus? You touched on the fact that the forums were like
invaluable,
a great resource for you.
Yeah.
And most car enthusiasts will know that the forums it was the spot.
It's the spot.
Before YouTube, before any of the different social media channels where you can really learn and kind of build community. The forums were
to this day now, I still think it's the spot. Mm-hmm. I love the forums. Right, so it's a community of people all around the world coming together and sharing what they're passionate about, which is usually the specific car that they drive.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, what inspiration did you draw from for the build, and what were the steps that kind of led it up to where it's at right now?
So I'm going to toot my horn just a little bit because I know how to build a really high quality car. Like this Subaru STI. Again, it's amassed over 100,000 views on the forums. It's the way that I've crafted it together. Like I said, everything kind of comes together very nicely. And one of the things is that I never used to have that vision. I remember when I was first a kid, okay, I didn't bring the paper here, but I'll send you a picture and then you guys can superimpose this picture. But I had some like clapped out, riced out Mitsubishi Eclipse drawing that I drew myself. I'm not artistic, by the way. I would say I'm creative in the mind, but not drawing wise. So, how I got into like the modifying cars and what you see today, it actually started from, wanting and like, the Fast and the Furious, the Paul Walker Eclipse, the GSX. I had my own iteration of that, and I would like, the common cars back in like the early 2000s, like the Hyundai Tiburon with those like 3 lights, and like people would go with like the crazy like Bomex body kits. I had like Z3 fenders with Z4 fenders, like vents on vents on vents, and it's just like, again, I'm gonna show you guys the picture after, but yeah, I guess I started from a very tacky phase of like the biggest ricer kind of thing to more classy and refined. So I don't know. I think just going to many car shows in the States and seeing, the quality of work that people, again, very few people know how to really, it's all individual, right? So not to say, oh, this is crap because they didn't use the best parts. That's not what I'm saying. But I can identify and, being around and talking to the owners that win the best of show, right? Like that's the best. As an owner of a car, I have not yet won best of show. It's a dream of mine, but talking to the owners and seeing the attention to detail that they put in, where every part has a story, that to me is what I strive for. I'm an insurance broker. I work for Intact Insurance. One of our core values is striving for excellence in everything we do. And, that whole, Japanese Kaizen, right? For those of you who don't know, Kaizen is a Japanese word for continuous improvement, right? I always want to push myself. How can I push the boundaries to do something different, right? So I had this vision of OEM plus. Everyone loves OEM plus. You take the base car and you kind of spruce it up a little bit. That way it's tasteful, right? But I love motorsport. I remember I would love to take my 2011 Jetta to CSCS, the local track events that they do, and, wishing one day like I'm going to be on that track, right? So learning about certain parts and who's the best, like the cage in the car is done by the best person that builds cages in Canada, Mr. Ronald O'Brien. And people were like, oh, you can go somewhere else and do a cage. I said, no. I want to do it once. I want to do it right. I want the best person working on the car. And, taking the car from an OEM Plus and stripping it, I gave my mom a heart attack, right? I remember her. She literally started crying. She's like crying. She's like, oh my God, like, what did you do to the car? We were stripping it in the garage many years ago. And she's like, you ruined a perfectly good car. Like, it was so nice. What are you doing? I said, Mom, don't worry. Like, I have the vision in my mind. It's all going to come together nicely. You have to trust me, okay? I know you can't see it, but trust me, I know how to do this, right? So, acquiring like certain parts, like the roof is from a very special place in California, Aerosim Research. The doors, right? You don't see the doors right now, but the inner door cards of this car, it's a great story, by the way. I fell in love with rally car racing. I would never do it in this car, don't get me wrong, but there was a Belgian company, Grassroots, that had this like hatchback rally car, STI, and they had these very bespoke interior door cards that had like certain, curvature of the way that they did it to accommodate a roll cage. And I knew the vision was, this car is going to have a roll cage. You better believe it, Mom and Dad. And when I reached out to the owner of that Belgian racing team, thankfully he spoke English, but I remember emailing him. This is years ago, right? Like 2014, after I had the car, right? Hey, I'm willing to pay whatever I need to pay, kind of like a blank check sort of deal, where I want to buy those door cards that you guys have, or at least can you make them for me if you don't want to sell me them off the car? Because the important thing to remember is that in rally racing, the teams have to keep up with the newest cars, right? So after a few years, they kind of like, I think the right word is to derelict it. They put it in their little museum in their shop, and then it's done. Then they get the newest STI to do their rally cross racing. So, they had, I guess it was like a 2010 STI, and again, 2014, it was done. They had the newest rally car that they were racing. So I'm like, if you're not using it, I will happily buy it off you, right? I remember the gentleman, he's like, oh no, like, we're just going to keep it in our little museum that we got here, and that was it. And that was it. Like, I was like, oh, I was a bit sad, but I moved on. And kind of like out of sight, out of mind, I was done with it. And then I kid you not now, it was like a year and a half later, I get an email from that same gentleman. I'm not even expecting this at all. He's like, hey, Alex, like, we had your email on file here, and we thought you might be interested again. We're actually getting rid of the car. And I know that you really wanted this, and I know that you would appreciate the doors being from our one-of-one rally car. So we want to offer them to you. And I can't tell you enough now. I have never pulled out my wallet faster than that exact moment. I was like the IKEA commercial, like, start the car, I'm buying this right now. And, those kind of stories is what's really special to me, because I can have such an impact on someone to remember me. He remembered me. He didn't have to reach out to me, but he remembered the passion and love for the sport and the craft to put together a really special car. And he gave me that opportunity. And I'm forever grateful for that moment. It was very, very special.
Yeah, I find like that's a very common theme with the aftermarket and buying and selling community in general. Like, because these cars mean so much to us, and because these parts, they represent a build, and we're so passionate about these cars and these builds, and it's very nostalgic of the time of when you were building it, that a lot of enthusiasts, when they're ready to part ways with a car part that means a lot to them, they want it to go to a good home. Right. They want it to go to someone who's going to take care of it and actually continue that story. So
you can relate to that, for sure.
I've definitely, I hear that a lot. People selling parts, like, I want it to go to a good home. I want it to be maybe potentially in the same community, so that, I can still see it around, whether it's selling the whole car or just like a set of wheels, whatever it is.
For sure.
But yeah, that's a great story. Was it all 4 door cards?
All 4. Rears as well. And the special thing was, I love music, by the way. So they didn't come with any slots for speakers. So I remember taking it to the body shop. They're like, Alex, are you sure you want to do this? I said, yeah. Everyone always says, you can listen to the exhaust, the symphonies of the Boxer engine with the nice, perfect exhaust setup that you had. It's like, yes, but I also want to listen to my jazz, chill, lo-fi, hip-hop music when I'm driving this thing. It's very important. So we literally, this was like, once you go, you can't go back sort of thing. So I remember the body shop cutting the little circles in the door cards for the speakers, and it turned out exceptionally. Like I'm sure we can superimpose some pictures to show you guys, but when you guys see this car in person, you'll really appreciate the doors for what they are, because nobody has those doors. Nobody.
Full carbon?
Full carb. I believe full carbon.
Okay.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so we'll definitely throw in some pictures to give everyone an idea.
Yeah.
Because, eventually once the car is all put together, we're going to do a whole feature on the car.
For sure.
That's going to be a lot of fun. So where are the doors right now?
Casa del Rey, my parents' home.
Okay. And was it the full door that you're swapping out, or just
no? So those were just the interior door cards.
Just the cards, right? The door cards. Okay.
Yes, and the reason why you guys see the car as having no doors is because. You ready to hear this?
Bring it on.
Okay, we're going wide body kit, but not just any wide body kit. I already have the wide body kit at my parents' house. Okay. The wide body kit that I have for this car was made by a company called ABW. Okay, they're based in the UK. Fantastic. They've been around for a long time, but they had this wide body kit on their website, and I kind of liked it, but I wanted to make it tailored to myself and what I want. So I actually worked hand in hand with the owner Darren of ABW, craft a one-off of his already existing wide body kit for this car. And honestly, I love 911. So, like the podcast that you guys that you did with Navin and Nathan, I love the 911 body style. So what we did was the rear quarter panels of this body kit, we kind of smoothed it out. So it naturally flows out to the width like a 911 rear quarter panel that you'd imagine, where it's like the side skirts are kind of like non-existent because it goes flush with the doors. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of curves out, right? Classy, right? It's very, very classy. So again, people are like, okay, Alex, you got the body kit. Like, what are you waiting for? Go install it. No, we want to be different. We want to be special. So I have a very good friend of mine, Alex at Spade Sport. Alex is probably one of the best carbon fiber producers in Canada, hands down. He works on all the top time attack cars that a lot of you are very aware of, like William Ao Young's Honda Civic that he's raced at in Japan, and very, very crazy stuff. So Alex will essentially be taking my fiberglass custom wide body kit and taking a mold of it and making it into full dry carbon. So this car that you see here, and again, I gave him all 4 of my stock exterior doors. He'll take a mold of that and make it into full dry carbon. So the car will, I've always had dreams of this thing weighing like an S2000. Who knows if that's actually going to happen, but we want to try really, really hard. Like, the hatch of the car. People always say like, Alex, like you spend a lot of money on your car, but I'm going to tell you something. It's important to focus on the details, because you see a carbon trunk, right? It's made by Saibon. So Saibon made 2 trunks, two variants for the hatch. They made one, which was fiberglass, right? Which is the typical process is you do fiberglass and then you put real carbon on top to give it the look, right? Yeah. But yeah, and yes, you'll save weight because the stock is like metal. Yeah, you'll definitely save weight going from metal to fiberglass. But we want to push the boundaries. So with that car, they actually made a special variant that cost 4 times the price for full dry carbon. There's no inner construction, is not fiberglass. It's full dry carbon, and that's what we went for. And I think like, pairing that with the Lexan polycarbonate glass from Plastics for Performance in the UK, they do great things. I even want to have the sliders. Can you imagine like going to like a McDonald's and you pull in the drive-thru and you have to kind of like slide the window and like, okay, hand me the fries. I think that's so cool, So the goal with this car is like we're gonna shed as much weight as possible. I know Ronnie, he cut a lot of unnecessary metal in the car to really cut the weight down. So if I can get this car weighing as little as possible, I think it weighs like 2,900 pounds right now, even with the cage.
Yeah. How many kilograms is that?
I don't know. We'll have to do the math calculation. I'm not good with math. You put me on the spot right now.
You work with numbers all day. You're in the insurance. Come on.
I know. I don't know, man. I got on the boosh right now. Well, pretty much it's definitely under 3,000 pounds. And the logic behind it is that, I know like what I want to do with the engine. The engine's still stock in terms of the internals, right? We've done all the full bolt-ons, titanium intake, stock turbo, but I want to show to people that you don't necessarily need the fastest car to go fast on the track. I was kicking butt with this car before the car was caged. Like I was going faster than people that had rotated turbo setups, half cage interiors. Why? Because I like to learn. I like to learn about how to go fast. I read all the Ross Bentley books, Skip Barber books. I love racing, right? I would consider myself I'm recognized as a very fast driver in the local GTA. And would you believe I've only had 4 track days in my life? Would you believe that?
Jeez.
And the reason why is because a lot of people don't know, I used to love Forza Motorsport 4. Specifically Forza Motorsport 4. Not 3, not 5, not Horizon, 4. It's one of those things where you're playing on the Xbox, and sometimes with these racing games, you turn the thumbstick a little bit to the right, and the car goes like flying. It goes flying right. It's like, no, I don't like that. The way that they did Forza 4, it was very nice feedback and stuff like that. And I think I was like 686 in the world for that game. I've easily put 10,000 hours. So, I would say, some people could say, well, that doesn't translate into racing, but you know what? It does, because you understand sort of how the car turns or how to approach a turn. Like I always had the suggested racing line on because I wanted to learn what arguably the best, most appropriate way to take the turn would be. And so doing that, playing countless hours of video games, like I'm talking like over 10,000 hours easy. My parents can fact check that one. Okay, we put like a fact check over here.
Did you play with the joystick or the steering wheel?
I had a little steering wheel, nothing fancy. Okay, nothing fancy, but I had a steering wheel. But I liked the controller better. I had one of those. I think it was like a Fanatec steering wheel, so not bad. But reading the books, like again. I like, again, with the whole Kaizen, continuous improvement, I like to learn more about the craft of whether it's insurance or whether it's cars and racing. So I want to be a student of the craft. So I would read all the books. I still have all the books, by the way. And that's important for someone to really, be good at something, you have to be a student. So yeah, it's just one of those things where I wanted to prove to people that we don't have to make this thing like a 600 all-wheel drive horsepower crazy build in terms of power. We're going to keep power relatively the same, but we're going to make the car light and we're going to focus on the driver mod. Yeah. And again, I've proven to people that this is, in fact, it works. Yeah. I'm actually kind of scared of adding power to this thing. Like, I can't imagine what this thing was double the power and like half the weight is going to look like,
That would be
scary.
Very scary.
I thought I saw a stain in the seat when you drove it here.
Oh no, those seats are way too nice. I definitely would have to. I'd have to swap in my set if I ever did, blemish them. But no, it was. Yeah, just hearing you speak about the direction of the build, losing weight. That's, cars are getting heavier and heavier every single day, but they're just adding more power to it, and it's. Sure, the cars are fast, but how that weight is carried around a track, how it responds to the driver input, weight has a huge role in how the car drives and the performance in general. So super cool because I didn't realize that you had such a huge, well, I knew you had a focus on weight, but I didn't realize it was like
It's a big deal.
the North Star for the direction of the build. Because I plan on doing that with the NSX as well.
Yeah.
And I want to take that same route with the Type R. I only went to the track for the first time last year. Was very intimidating.
It can
be. You know, I think those 10,000 hours that you put behind Forza, it adds for something, you know. And
no girlfriend as well makes it a lot easier, you know.
And those books, because what are in those books? I'll definitely have to get you to show me what you read.
I got a lot of books
because I love reading and learning about, you know, the fundamentals of what it takes to drive fast and what these cars are capable of. But you got the core principles of and you build that foundation of what you should be doing, what the tires are doing, how the car is kind of working with the road to get around the track. And a mix of all those things really add up to you progressing so fast in just 4 track days. So that's awesome. That's really cool. So Alex, like you touched on how you put a lot of seat time in playing Forza 4. You kind of really immerse yourself in these books all about learning how to drive, the core like fundamentals of what it takes to drive well, drive fast. And there, as we've had this conversation, you've touched on something that not a lot of people talk about, and that's mindfulness and being present.
Yeah.
You know, you touched on how important it was for when you're talking to someone to look them in the eyes, be present.
Listen.
You know, this is something that I struggle with. I think everyone struggles with is how do you be present in the moment and not worry about your to-do list and focus on really enjoying every moment and being focused. So what has that book taught you? And at the same time, like, this mindfulness of being present, is this something that you learned? Is this something that was just that's come natural to you, or something that your parents kind of imparted on you? Want to touch on that?
Yeah, of course. So first of all, shout out to Ross Bentley. Ross Bentley is a famed race car driver. He's come out with a series of books for those of you who are interested in racing and want to take your driving habits to the next level. But he has one specific book that every single person should read. And I mean, it's tailored to racing and being fast, but the principles could be for anything. And that's about mindfulness, like you said, being, the mental strategies to be a fast driver. Think of it this way, a perfect example. When I was at the track at CSCS, the big finale, I was overdriving the car, spinning out, right? I'm a very, very aggressive driver on the track. And I wasn't locked in. That Mamba mentality that Kobe Bryant had when you're just in the zone and you're ready and you're focused. Very few people have that. Myself, I struggle with that as well, to actually be locked in. And the book talks about that. There's a lot of distractions with your phone. You might have an ex-girlfriend. Funny enough, my first girlfriend, that was the week that we stopped, and it was a very tough mental. It really was a test of my character to do what I did in that weekend, because I had just broken up with my ex-girlfriend before leading up to that weekend. So you'd think, like, my mental state's not there. But being a student and understanding what I'm reading, I knew from what I read in that book how important it is to be present, right? Not thinking about crashing into a wall, not thinking about I've spun out 5 times on the track. Right? What are people thinking? Like, this guy doesn't know how to drive, right? I'm present in the car. It's me and the machine. That's it. And I was able to shed 5 seconds off my lap time to get to the overall finale after qualifying. I was doing horrible that day because I wasn't focused. And that can go with anything. When you're talking with someone, put yourself in their shoes. If they're sharing something with you, you should be listening. Why? Because you want them to feel important and what they're saying is valid. And I grew up with that. Like my parents have been married for, I think it's like over 30 years. And it's just that level of respect that they have for each other is what has kept their marriage going on for so long, because they listen, they respect each other. So that's, I guess, shed on me, where it's like when people are talking, when I go to these car events and stuff like that, even when my parents come and people are talking with me, maybe they're talking with me about their cars and stuff. I'm not thinking, oh, this guy's talking to me about his Hyundai Tucson or that, he got and, that he's proud about. Like, I'm not thinking, oh, this is stupid or something like that. I'm present, I'm listening to you, I'm not thinking about anything else. And that allows me to be who I am and earn the respect that I have in this local Toronto community, right? When you hear my name, I want you to hear like, Alex is a good guy, right? He listens to us, he respects it, he's just a genuinely good guy. And a lot of that is thankful to being present and, mindfulness, right? Especially with COVID, it's tough, not being able to go to car meets and with your friends and stuff like that. Being present and not thinking about everything else, it can be difficult for people. But I think if you push yourself to have more meaningful conversations with people and be in the moment, you'll be very well respected in whatever you're doing, whether it's business, whether it's cars, whether it's just relationship building. And I owe a lot to that book. I love reading. I like reading about self-help books. It's a personal habit of mine. I love going to Chapters in Indigo to get those books. But I think a lot of us would benefit from just being present, right?
Yeah. No, you brought up some really good points that resonate with me, because it is something that I struggle with. And in a world where there's so many distractions, like your brain is craving that phone and those notifications and the likes, mm-hmm. and all that. It's hard to be present with people and the relationships in your life, because you're always chasing things. You're always your ambitions and you're always thinking about tomorrow, and it's something that I'm working on. I try to meditate every morning. It's something that I know, like when I listen to the teacher in my guided meditation app, he's always, after certain lessons, he's like, you know what, you doing this practice, these 20 minutes, this act is an indication that you do want to improve the relationships in your life. Mm-hmm. You want to be a better dad, a friend, partner, husband,
anything,
to people, because the one thing that we can never really give or get back is time.
You're right.
And you coming here and doing a podcast with me, this is,
I wanted to make the time.
Yeah,
it's very special.
You're giving us your time, and we want to be respectful of that. And that's something that I'm working on, even with my team, even with with Sherry and anyone in my life that means a lot to me. Being present, listening, not worrying about the business, not worrying about the dreams and aspirations or thinking about cars. It's definitely,
you just got to be fair to yourself. There's going to be times where you're going to be thinking about something else, and it happens. But I think the important thing is, again, that Kaizen, that continuous improvement. I keep saying it, but it's so true. Thinking about and being aware of these things. Sometimes people aren't even aware of it. Like, I could be talking with you right now, you could be thinking, oh geez, I got to make burgers for dinner tonight.
Yeah.
Right. But just being aware that, okay, I drifted off, but I got to come back.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people have that self-awareness.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate to have that.
Yeah.
Right? I care a lot about what people think of me. Why? Because I care about people. Relationships are very important to me. Mm-hmm. Right? I have a very good structure and friend circle that are just really good people. And when people meet me for the first time or they watch my YouTube videos, they know that I'm just a genuine person, that I really care about engaging with people and listening to them. I'm in the business of relationship building. What sets someone like myself as an insurance broker apart from a different broker is that sometimes you get, brokers that, is my broker really in it for me, or are they just in it for a paycheck?
Yeah.
And that's why I have hundreds of Google reviews for my company for specifically myself. Why? Because my clients take care of me just like I take care of them, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a great way and the way to build long-lasting relationships is to be present and actually care about people. And I think you've done an exceptional job of it, because
well, think about how we met. You remember how we met? So for those of you who don't know, Nau and I, and Nau and his family, we all live in the same area. Back when I was in Mississauga, he's like 2 to 3 blocks away from me. And I remember, when I had my Subaru STI washing, I didn't know who this guy was, but I would always see this white Acura CSX driving by with this big giant wing. I think what I fell in love with it most was was it Mugen, a lot of Mugen parts, or was it Spoon?
So it was a Mugen RR themed build.
So this build, this Mugen RR theme, I just fell in love because it had these triangles, these kind of triangle inserts and stuff like that, and it had this really cool fog light where it was clear, and then when you brake it would obviously illuminate. And I'm like, you know what, one of these days I got to talk to this guy, because I see this guy driving by all the time. And again, you know me, I don't just talk like I did with Carl, knock on his window. I remember flagging you down, I think, one day while I was washing my car, and you pulled over. Of course you see me, so you kind of know who I am, but we had never talked, and we just hit it off. And look, here we are today. It's been years. Even, you know what? I love supporting you, because you've supported me when I needed it. When I had my detailing business, a very small sole proprietorship, it helped actually afford a lot of the parts that you see on the car. You gave me the opportunity to work on, not that car, but no hard feelings, but you gave me the opportunity to work on your prized possession at the time, which was the Civic Type R. Right? And I remember the countless hours I had spent on that car. It was just very special to me. And it was that just goes to show you that, I'm not scared to talk to people, but that's how we met. And it's a very special story. Some people don't have the confidence and the courage to, go up to someone that they see all the time and just hey, I'm Alex, right? And oh man, I love that story. It's a good story.
Yeah, no, I would always see you washing your car on the driveway, and obviously as soon as I see an STI, I'm like, oh, there's a car enthusiast.
What did you think when you always saw the car? I gotta talk to this guy.
It was clean. Yeah, clean. It was clean. It was clean, and I never kind of had the courage to come up and say hi, but a lot of friendships that I have today are because of these cars. Mm-hmm. And at least one side, someone decided to muster up the courage to come up and say, hey, I love your car, let's talk, and then that's how the friendship starts.
I am not a Honda, to be very clear here, I am not a Honda person, but the way that now, again, I want you guys to superimpose Nau's car. Probably the nicest car. I instantly became a fan of the CSX. And look, he has a red one that he's turning into a project car as well. But that white one, that was something else. You really, when I think of the top tier builds, you had done that so nicely. It was clean. It was very, very clean.
Yeah, no, that car and that build means a lot to me. It was a chunk. It was a chapter in my life where I was really immersing myself with the car culture. Tom had just opened up next month Mississauga.
That's right, yeah.
And I was always at the shop all day, every single day, just loving the
scene and the
culture, and just surrounding myself with a business that is built around the enthusiast community. So, the parts on that car were inspired by the Mugen RR, the real one.
Right.
The one that they only made 300 of, and it was such a special car because Mugen had a whole kit, a regular kit for the Civic Type R, the 8th gen, so the FD2. And
I have no clue what that means,
yeah,
but okay, sure.
And then they released of another bespoke, completely unique body kit just for those 300 cars that they made.
Oh wow!
With where they actually like a lot of these companies, when they release these cars, they might just do a little cosmetic, upgrade
Lip
here and
kits.
there. Yeah, nothing too crazy, nothing super fancy. But with the Mugen RR, they actually stroked out the motor to 2.2.
Wow.
Suspension, seats, custom aero, custom kit all around. It was a really, really special car.
Yeah.
And when I laid my eyes on that first one, the real one, I was like, man, I have to.
I don't blame you.
That really inspired me to build a car
and to push the boundary, right?
And then I put my own spin on it.
Yeah.
Right. Like I sat there for hours just envisioning what I could do to put a GT wing on there. So there was a Jay's Racing wing.
Yeah.
That fog light was a third brake light.
That's right. I remember.
But yeah, just that kit alone, if you have the full kit in a car, it's okay. But when you add those little details, the stance of the car, how certain parts contrast with other parts, and the overall theme of the car, that was a build that I was really proud of.
I'm gonna say something. The theme, like the biggest takeaway for someone that wants to build like a best of show car, it's something that it's a recurring theme, is the theme of consistency. And sometimes I've seen it with Subarus is like there's different colors everywhere. There's like red, blue, green. Like I think the best builds from what I've seen and what I've experienced are the ones where it's like, okay, the theme is titanium or the theme is like little bits of carbon everywhere, right? And it's like being consistent to that is what really sets it apart. And like I said, you hands down did that with that. You made me a Honda fanboy. And I'm very proud. That's a very proud statement, okay?
Yeah, no, I got a lot of really positive feedback from that car. People who were like, oh man, I can't believe you can actually make a CSX look like that.
Yeah, they don't usually. This is like a regular, putt car like my Jetta was, right?
If that's most of the fun is taking these platforms and this blank canvas and really transforming it in a way that really strokes that imagination of like, wow, this is what you can do.
Yeah.
So that's what I enjoyed really doing, and that's something that always has come natural to me. So hoping to rebuild the car with Sherry's donated SI.
She doesn't seem too happy about that.
Because Sherry loves white cars, and I did a color change to red because the real RRs are only red.
I heard, yeah.
So I have a thing for red Hondas, like
your NSX.
The NSX. I really believe that red really makes the car.
For sure.
But
100%.
Yeah. I definitely get what you're talking about in terms of the theme. The theme is so important. Mm-hmm. You can slap a bunch of super rare parts on a car.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If it isn't executed well, if it doesn't flow, if it's not consistent across every single part of the car, it's just not gonna do it for certain people.
Yeah, you're right.
But at the end of the day, if you're doing it for the right reasons and you're building a car for yourself,
yeah.
Who cares what people think? Yeah.
Who cares?
But just guys like me and you, you recognize and you appreciate when someone puts
the time and the thought, yeah.
Really, really taking their time, buying the right parts, and pulling it all together into like one complete package.
Listen to this. So speaking on that, my Veris diffuser for my M3, it was installed on the car. We recently took it off. Everyone was like, why? Why would you do that? You just put it on the car. Well, again, the theme of the M3 as well, we want to focus on the attention to detail. So we pulled it off. We replaced every single nut and bolt hardware for that Varus diffuser. I spent $800 on hardware for that diffuser. People think, Alex, you're crazy. But you know what? Again, the theme, it has to, someone like yourself or someone, when they see it at a car show, and I've never seen anyone like go down on the ground and like looking underneath the car like, wow, like look at this. But for the people that do, or the people that might recognize it from the ground level, they'll know that, oh, that's titanium hardware. He could have went with just the regular one, but some people, I do it for myself, like you said, and I don't mind, waiting a little bit longer. Again, I'm not made of my own, make hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I understand that sometimes you have to be patient. Right? It always kind of irked me when some of my friends would build their cars in like a year and then they sell it. Right? When you do it and you enjoy the time and the journey of the car and its evolution, it's really special. Right? So I don't mind waiting a little bit longer to afford certain things. Like, again, perfect example, the seats. I had a Recaro SPG seat. I couldn't afford the SPAs, the carbon Kevlar. Right? Someone's like, and I also don't like to do things twice. So that was the one exception where I did a seat twice. But someone would say, like, Alex, like, you spent twice the price for a seat that weighs a couple pounds less. Like, how does that make sense? Well, again, we're trying to do something different, right? And even with the rims that you see on the car right now, those are Advan GTs. I remember I was at a Subaru Hyper Meet, the big annual Subaru meet in Ontario, Canada. And I remember I had my RPF ones, I had my stock STI wheels at the time. And I remember the car was bone stock. I remember calling my dad at the meet. And again, Carl was my friend at the time, of course. So he worked for a company called Wheels Collection, yep. Right? And they had first sale at their little booth were these Advan GT wheels. They weren't white, but they were matte black. And I remember saying to myself, like, I called my dad, like, Dad, I know the wheels I want to get. Like, can I buy them right now? Can you help me out? He said, no, I want to teach you. You're going to have to work hard for what you want. And I remember, he didn't know this, but I came home and I said, Dad, I bought Advans. He said, what do you mean you bought Advans? I came home with a t-shirt, Advan Racing. And it's my favorite shirt today. Why? Because that taught me the lesson of when you can't have something right away. Again, I've always been silver spoon my whole life, always. And I'm okay saying that. But my parents have always taught me that you have to work hard for what you want. And it's like I couldn't afford the wheels at that time, so I bought the shirt as a reminder that, you know what, one day I'm going to have those. One day I'm going to work very hard and I'm going to get those wheels. And lo and behold, we have them right now. Very, very humbled to say that. Right?
Yeah, you guys are always busting each other's balls, aren't you?
Yeah.
Always cracking jokes, always playing pranks on each other, because you prank me all the time.
It's the Portuguese guy. Yeah. My old man, the guy's jokes around a lot.
Yeah, no, Advans, they're very iconic wheels. And
you're forgetting the most important part. They're easy to clean.
Yeah,
why would somebody want BBS E88s with all the little spokes and stuff? No, I don't have time for that. It already takes me long enough to clean these wheels. Yeah. I want ease. I'm all about the ease. And they look nice too. They're forged. It's all about the quality. We don't do replicas because it's all about supporting the companies that are pioneering the industry and pushing it forward. Yeah. Right? I will never buy a replica part. That's a lie. I bought one replica part, my M3, the GT. I always knew I wanted the OEM GT4 BMW Motorsport lip. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, the M3 platform, everyone always goes with the replica lips. Why? Well, because A, they're going to drive it and it's likely to crack. But B, a replica lip will cost you 500 Canadian dollars. That's like 300 US roughly. And the original one from BMW Motorsport division, it costs like 4,000 US dollars, I think, 4,500 US dollars. I paid at Turner Motorsport, which is like over 6,000 with shipping and duties and taxes and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's like, I remember I bought the replica as like, okay, like I'm going to get it for right now. We didn't even test fit it on the car. Okay, I bought a brand new replica. It looked great. I had it polished. I had it clear brought. I had it ceramic coated, ready to install. Because again, one day I want to get the real one. And I remember, like, you know what? I was thinking. I was in my thoughts. I'm like, you know what? I can't do this. I can't actually go through this. Why? Because I always want to support the real deal. So I sold it locally. I have a very good relationship with Turner Motorsport. Interesting enough, I was actually promised a sponsorship that fell through because the marketing team kind of dropped the ball. And my good friend at Turner Motorsport, Ian, special shout out to him, he felt bad and he didn't want to ruin the experience. Of course, I'm going to be spending a lot of money restoring my M3. So he was aware of that, but also just a genuine person too. He felt bad. Right? I was promised a sponsorship, and I'm not the person that asks for free parts, but anything helps. Even if it's like a 5% discount, I've never been one to ask, hey, help me on the price. But people always would take care of that for me, right? Without me asking. So he was aware of the situation. I made him aware of what had happened, and he went out of his way to get me access to getting an OEM GT4 BMW Motorsport lip, which is a very hard to acquire part. Right? So thankfully now I have the OEM GT4 lip. People are like, oh, are you nervous to break like a 6,000 Canadian dollar lip? No, I hardly drive the thing. Like, you know, I'm very careful where I drive anyways, but like, it's all about supporting the real deal, whether it's Advan, whether it's Voltex, whether it's, you know, BMW Motorsport division, right?
Yeah.
It's important. Not everyone can afford the real parts because there is a premium to that. Mm-hmm. But I'm the kind of person in most circumstances, other than that rare one, where I don't mind waiting. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't mind waiting a little bit longer to really support the real deal, right?
And that's something that we have really come to learn, and myself specifically is what it means to buy these authentic parts, and what it means to support these brands and companies, build more parts. And a lot of times people don't really understand the story behind it. They don't really, like, you know, you grow up and you're just like, man, I can't, like, these replica lips and parts, they're much more affordable. Mm-hmm. And as someone growing up, you always want it now. You always want that instant
gratification.
Yeah. And I think if you share the stories of what these brands, what these companies had to go through, and the story of building the company, then, you know, eventually the right people will when they hear about it, they'll want to support it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's cool. Is Turner Motorsports
US based? They're US based.
Are they mainly, do they specialize in BMW parts?
BMW, European, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Do you plan on having some kind of suspension mod that's going to allow you to raise the car up and down when you get to like any, no?
Go big or go home, buddy. You worry too much.
That racing mindset, right? It's just like, forget it.
Oh, we're all in.
We're all in. That's a really cool part. I can't wait for you to.
I can't wait for you to see it. Yeah, it's coming here for the big unveiling, so you're going to be the first to see it.
Yeah.
Other than USIC, who's Total Motorworks is working on building it.
What's the timeline for that?
I wish you didn't ask me that question. I was hoping to get it this year, but we're going to be doing a little bit more stuff, so maybe next year. I don't know. I don't even think I'm going to be able to drive it this year. Yeah. This is going to stay at the shop.
Really?
So that's another year of not driving the car. I drove it 4 times, believe it or not, last year. Only 4. Yeah. So it's just like, you know, the dedication to the craft. I don't need it. I work downtown, right? So
that's going to be an exciting one. Hopefully, maybe when it debuts, we can have your BMW bros over and we can do a podcast all about the BMW community.
They're waiting for it.
Yeah.
They're bigger fanboys than I am. They'll tell you when BMW first started. It's like, who cares about that, right?
Yeah, no, a really good friend of mine, Ray, he's a big BMW guy too. So it'll be fun to learn more about the history, the story behind BMW and motorsports and that community. All right, we're just back from a break, and Alex, I wanted to ask you about this diecast model that you brought with you.
It's the elephant in the room, right? It's been commanding attention the whole time. I'm actually glad you asked me about it. I'm not the biggest into diecast models or car models, but as a kid, I had my little F50, Ferrari F50. My dad got me, and this is my second diecast or car toy model. And this, for those of you who don't know, this is a Maserati MC12 Corsa. Now, what the heck did he just say? Well, Maserati MC12, it's a road legal race car. I wish I knew the history behind it, but this was the car that competed, I believe, against the Ferrari F50, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Nonetheless, it's a really cool car. I fell in love. Actually, funny enough, the Maserati MC12 made a guest appearance in a very, very big rapper. I wonder if you can guess who it was. But not the Corsa model, but the regular MC12 that kind of looked like this.
Yeah.
It was in a rapper's video. Whose rapper video do you think it is? Guys, post in the comments. Which rapper's video used the Maserati MC12 in it? I want to know if you guys actually pay attention to the videos, because I did. You get one guess. One rapper. This was around, I'll help you out.
What era?
This was around 2005-ish, before 2010, like early 2000s, let's say. I think.
Man, this is a complete guess. P. Diddy.
P. Diddy? What kind of guess is that? 50 Cent.
Oh man, I was gonna.
And you know what song it was? Yeah. It was Window Shopper. If you guys go and watch the Window Shopper video, this Maserati, a white one, was cruising around in Monaco, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is the coolest car ever. 50 Cent, if 50 Cent can drive this car, I gotta get this car one day. And then when I was researching more about the MC12, I learned about the Corsa model, and the Corsa is the race car variant of the regular MC12, which is already spectacular in its own sense. And if you open up inside these doors, it's very famed for having blue, I believe it's Alcantara interior, and it's just very, very aggressive, with the vents that have the fenders that have the vents that are pop out and protrude above the car. Mm-hmm. If you saw this on the road, take a look at it. It had the top of it has the roof's kind of scoop, kind of like the NSX R.
Yeah, the roof scoop leading into I'm guessing it's probably mid-engine.
Correct. I would think so, yeah. Aggressive. Look at the rear diffuser. Very, very aggressive. And you know what? Funny enough, if you guys go on YouTube and you search up MC12 Corsa on the road, there is a gentleman that had this exact one. It was blue as well. And he drove it, I think it was in California. And come on, I would love, if I could afford this car, or rather when, it's all about positivity. When I can afford this car in the future one day, it's $3.2 million, a lot of money, right? I would love to have this car in my collection one day. It's my dream car. I love the Ferrari F40. That's a car I think that one day I'd love to have, if I can, or rather when I get to that part of my life one day. Knock on wood, I hope it happens. But this car is very special to me. I would even love to be a passenger in this present car.
What kind of motor is in here?
I have no clue. It's I think it's a V12.
V12?
Yeah. The sound, it's it's eargasm,
I don't really know much about Maseratis.
But you got something there as well.
Yeah. As you can tell from the artwork that we have hanging up. Big
McLaren fan.
Huge
boom,
McLaren
boom.
F1 fan.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by it.
Diecast car models is something I've always grown up kind of collecting.
Yes.
That's how my passion for cars started, with kind of seeing a diecast model.
Oh, really?
In person when I was younger, and just what the diecast model represents, how it rolls, how you can open the doors and see that, just holding in your hand. That's what sparked everything for me.
This is very special. It's gorgeous.
The McLaren F1 has just been that car
For
that's always I had an orange one growing up. It was my brother's, and I just he eventually, when he stopped caring to play with it, I just took it from him.
I don't believe it. I think you hogged it. You didn't share. It's like, this is mine. I want it.
It was that papaya orange. It was the GTR with the
the F1 GTR.
with the wing, with the black wing, and it was so special.
So you have a very similar style with me, where it's like, yeah, you like the F1, but you really fall in love with the motorsport version.
Yeah.
The aggressiveness.
Yeah, it's just taking that basic shape of the car and adding that motorsports kind of feel. Right. That's why I put the big J's Racing Wing on the CSX, and it's
loved it.
It's about executing that wing, but making it flow, making it seem like it fits on the car, and it goes with the theme. So whenever I see cars like the F1 GTR or even like the GT3s, when they have those big wings and it's executed so well, it's just
it hits that soft spot for you.
I can't wait to do that with the S2000 build. I think eventually, if I do get a second NSX and we turn it into a track car, we will go with that racing theme. But for now, the NSX will stay a street car, a car that just try to keep it timeless, try to keep it
beautiful.
Practical, and I can jump in and drive it every single day.
My neighbor Steve, I might have had some drool on the car. He was like my dad. He fell in love with it when he saw it. My mom actually is like, "Hey, Alexander, is that a red Ferrari that's pulling up?" I'm like, "Mom, come on, you can't say that in front of Nau. Like, let's get with the program here."
Tell Steve if he ever wants to go for a rip, I'd gladly take him. Ever since I acquired the car, I've probably taken over like 30, 40 people in the car.
Wow.
And it goes back to sharing this passion. The driving experience on that car is so special to me, and it makes me so happy. To the point where if Sherry's asking me to grab milk for Anderson, I'm already out the door.
With that car. Driving
here to pick up that car so I can just drive to the Walmart to buy milk and then come back.
I love it.
Because it's special. Right. And I never really understood until I got behind the wheel of the NSX. And it's one of those cars where you're not going particularly fast. Mm-hmm. But the sensation, the feedback that you get, how the experience, the analog feel, jamming to your tunes. It's reminded me what it's all about, and that's why I'm like, man, you got to get Gabby up and running. So more track days.
I know.
You gotta teach me a thing or two about putting some hot laps down. Let's jump into detailing. Like that was part of the story of how we met, and
that's right.
You detailed the Type R. How did you get into detailing? And when I met you and when I saw you kind of talking about detailing, it was something that you really took a lot of pride.
For sure.
And it was something that you really enjoyed doing well at a high level. So did that come naturally? Did that kind of develop over time? Or kind of share your journey as a detailer and how that started?
Well, everyone's going to love this story because let's take it back. So my mom has a company car, right, with her job. And it was an Audi. It was like a 2008 Audi A4. That was technically supposed to be my very first car. Why? Because we get a deal where we can buy it off the lease. And my mom being like a grandma driver, we would buy a $50,000 car for like $15,000, somewhere like very, very low. It'd have be like 3 years old at the time, coming off the lease, and like minimal uses. Like we're talking like 30,000 kilometers. And that I was prepping for that to be my first car. So why is that relevant? Well, in terms of prepping for that to be my car, I wanted to take pride in it. Like, this is going to be my next car. Like, this is my first car, right? This is before the Volkswagen Jetta. And I would trying to take pride in it, I would wash it, right? But we're not talking any kind of wash. We're talking like brush of doom kind of wash. I would take it to the coin op. I would use the brush of doom that people use on their undercarriage. I didn't understand. And then, you're asking me how I got into it. Well, I started realizing, well, Alex, like, why am I not achieving these results? I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm seeing scratches in places that there shouldn't be scratches, and I'm not getting the results that I see, like the cars at these car meets and stuff like that when I go to the car shows. So I started researching. And as I've told you, again, the forums I've always loved the forums, right? It's invaluable, the amount of wealth of knowledge that's online. And I would go on websites like Autopia or Auto Geek Online. And a very special shout out goes to Wes at Orion Detailing, because I remember seeing him detail out of his garage, out of his personal garage at home. This was before he got really, really big in terms of the level that he's doing right now. And I remember literally seeing him post a detailing thread on the forums of him detailing an Audi R8, the materials that he used, the techniques that he was deploying, and plenty of pictures, like picture overload. So I started researching the products, right? I spent a lot of time. I spent years, at least 2 years, learning and building up my detailing gear arsenal, right? With the best products, the best stuff that you can't buy off the shelf, right? And so, unfortunately, that car was ridden off. The Audi A4 was ridden off in an accident. And this is a good story for you guys. My mom, my mom's okay, but when the accident happened, she was T-boned very close to here. And I'm very embarrassed to say this, but I started crying. I went to the accident where my mom was. I started crying, not because my mom was slightly injured, but because that's not going to be my car anymore. And that's very honest. My mom knows that. It's a very honest story. Again, I'm a little bit embarrassed to share that, but I started crying because, again, I was so close to getting that car. It was like 3 months away from the lease, and I was going to be the proud owner of an '08 A4. I had, like any car person, I had my Excel spreadsheets. We were going to do a Rieger body kit. We were going to do the RS4 or RS5 honeycomb grill. Like, I was just like, I was ready to go. And when it didn't happen, of course, like I had to, I still kept the detailing knowledge. So then I'm like, okay, like when I had my Volkswagen Jetta, that was the cleanest Jetta that anyone's ever seen. Like it was like spotless. And so my detailing and learning from others on the forums, and again, I do things at a very high level. I've never shied away from buying, like learning the craft. So when with respect to detailing, you want to minimize swirls, right? Well, how do you do that? How you do it is, think of it, how do swirls actually happen? Swirls happen from any time that something touches the paint. So you have to be careful about what touches the paint, right? Maybe, you foam the car to loosen things up. That helps, right? I have like the 3 bucket method. I have grit guards, right? I'm rubbing it every single time on the grit guards to prevent a stone from being picked up and rubbing all over the car. Drying the car, let's think about that. Well, people can use microfiber towels, but again, you can have the best microfiber towels, but again, you want to minimize how much stuff actually touches the paint. And so you're thinking, okay, if that's the case, I got to buy a master blaster, right? I got to buy one of those dryers so that way I can push all the water off the car, and then if I want to hit a spray wax after with the microfiber, it's safe for me to do that. And, I always say anyone can be a detailer. Anyone can achieve the results of a perfectly swirl-free finish. The key thing to note is that the best detailers are the ones who can achieve those same results that anyone can get, but they take off the least amount of clear coat in terms of polishing and paint correcting. You don't need to paint correct your car every year. Now, again, there's certain conditions where, we live in Canada, so that, especially in Ontario, cars see all seasons, right? They see winter, they see salt, this and that. Maybe that makes sense, but you really want to minimize how much you polish the car. Why? Because you're removing a little bit more of the clear coat, very, very small. So again, anyone can throw on an aggressive compound, an aggressive pad, and go to town and get swirl-free finish, but The best ones are the ones that you don't need to do that. You kind of work your way up. We do a test spot. We do an orange pad with a light compound. Does it give me the results I'm looking for, or that I think that the owner would be happy with? And then you just kind of keep going, right? My detailing stopped when I started realizing how hard of a job it is, right? Like I had your car you brought it on a Friday night. I had it until Sunday. Right, Sunday night, and let me tell you, I was happy to see you get the keys and you being all like giddy and stuff like that. But let me tell you, when you left and I closed the door, I crashed on the couch. It's it's a very labor intensive job. So people always ask me, like, Alex, you're passionate about detailing, right? You love it. Why don't you start your own business? Well, I knew that the work that was involved. It takes a toll on your body after a while. That's why I love what you guys do here at Kodawari, was because you do this stretching, you get your team ready and energized, and your body is ready. I never did that. I never once took care of my body. You're around chemicals. You gotta wear proper gloves and stuff. I never did any of that, and I started seeing it taking a toll on my body. But so the detailing kind of slowed down. I think I kind of stopped taking it as seriously when there was like OptiCoat. You remember OptiCoat when ceramic coatings first came out? It was around that time where it's like I stopped researching certain things. I love waxes, I love sealants, but where we are now versus where we were when I was doing it at that high level is very different. Like ceramic coatings they're the newest thing for people that, very maintenance free. They just want it to look good all the time, sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, like, I still do detailing time to time. One of my dad's good friends has a collection of Ferraris and Porsche 911s and GT3s, like very, very wealthy person. And he gave me the opportunity to detail quite a few of his cars. I remember AMG GTR edition, and it had a matte paint job. So I'm like, okay, I remember when I was researching that you have to be very careful with matte finishes. So what did I do? And again, this was a one-time thing, but I'm the kind of person that goes all in and all out. I went on the website, SwissVax. SwissVax is recognized as being like the leaders of like high-end quality detailing gear, right? I'm sure that there are other products that might perform better with a lot less of more bang for your buck kind of thing. But the SwissVax, I had to buy like a matte finish wash and a matte wax. The wax was like $400 for a little tiny thing of nothing.
Holy shit.
But that's the pride. That's the pride. You want the owner to recognize that you're the real deal.
Yep.
Right? So I still have the SwissVax parts. It's great and stuff like that. I wish I could use it more, but when I'm an insurance broker full time, right? So I take my job seriously, and that's just more of a hobby. So it's kind of slowed down, but I still love it. I love what you guys are doing here, the bottles that you guys have, the attachments of the hoses and stuff like that, the jacks and stuff. You guys have really understood how to make a great detailing studio. This is not a shop. Let's be very clear. This is a studio. This is a boutique studio. And I hope that you're humbled to hear that, because not a lot of people have the opportunity to build a shop like you guys have done. This is a very special place. The flooring and stuff. You've done a fantastic job with this. I know I can speak on that because I've been around it. I've done it, right? I did it out of my parents' garage, fine. But I have a lot of friends that are in this business, and this is the nicest shop, hands down.
Yeah.
Respectfully, a lot of my friends, they have nice shops, but this is hands down the nicest shop.
Yeah.
Something that you'd see from like California.
Yeah. No, we were inspired by, I've always enjoyed kind of taking a space and really making it unique, a nice place to be. Mm-hmm. Started from my bedrooms at home, transitioned over to like renovating the houses and stuff like that, and then eventually over into cars, and just kind of spending time in an area that just gives you energy.
For sure.
And it's just well thought out, very unique, very, very, very special place. And I knew with us trying to build a business around the automotive detailing industry, we wanted to, it is very, very hard work. And we wanted to kind of cater ourselves to more of the enthusiast clientele.
Right.
People who come in here, and when you bust your ass and your body detailing these cars, it's so satisfying when you give it to someone who loves their car as much as you love your cars.
I still miss that feeling.
And that the reaction of them seeing it and all the hard work you put in and that relationship you build, because hey, you're gonna detail their first car, maybe their second car, as they continue to modify it. It's it's a great relationship to build with your clientele.
Of course.
So those little details, they really add up to making it worthwhile, because detailing is hard work, and
it's very hard work.
And when we're working towards just creating the ultimate destination for car enthusiasts.
Great.
In terms of detailing, in terms of we're looking to potentially maybe get like a dry ice machine to do like.
That's the newest thing, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm starting to hear more of that.
It just restoring these older cars, or cleaning the cars without using water.
See, we have different philosophies. Everyone's into dry ice. I'm just into buying the same replacement part. I want it brand new. I don't want it to be dry ice and look new. I want it to be brand spanking new. More money that way. But yeah, dry ice is it's the newest thing.
Yeah, because a lot of times,
I don't know how long it's been around for, but at least it's starting to become more popular. At least I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely become more popular, and I don't know much. I've only kind of recently heard about it too, but there are a lot of car collectors out there, and these older cars, people don't want to replace the parts. They want to keep it original.
Yes.
And for them to be able to clean it without too much stress on those parts, or on the gaskets or the stickers and the labels, because those things are important to some people who are trying to keep it as original, as if it just rolled off the line. And I think that method yields some pretty amazing results.
For sure.
So we're excited to kind of continue to apply our Kodawari mindset, and again, we have a nice shop. There's a lot of nice shops out there, but it's the culture here that is the most important thing, and we've been struggling with that, just because we've been trying a lot of things, and there's a lot of moving parts here. But it's always about having the right mindset of, doesn't matter if you have the best equipment in the world, the nicest shop, if you don't have the right attitude
and a cohesive team that understands.
Yeah, you're
game over.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So we have an amazing facility. We have an amazing team.
You do.
And this is just the first. This is the first step, and I can't wait to see where we're going to be, because I want us to be world class, not just best in Canada. I want to be best in the world.
Wow.
And that is, it's going to be a lot of hard work to get there, but I'm excited. The journey's just started.
Yeah, me all buttered up, man. You know what? I'm going to tell you something, but sorry to cut you off. But hearing those things, it's one thing, but I can actually feel it. I know you're a genuine person. I know you're speaking from the heart, and I know that you're a person of action, and I want everything. I want all those positive affirmations for you. So like I said, I'm happy to support you wherever I can, and you just stay true to yourself. It's just one of those things where you're building a team. You have a team that's invested in Kodawari, and they want to be, and everyone wants to see you succeed, you and the team succeed, and the business. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, Alex. I really appreciate your continued support. You've just hearing those affirmations from you and from our close friends and people that have come across what we're trying to do, it really goes a long way to kind of like, even those hard days, or those days where you're stressed out beyond belief, you're kind of like, what, this is bigger than just me. This is about having a mission of really adding some positivity back into how people perceive car enthusiasts. Because even with the local scene and all these meets you hear about going on in Durham, where people are just crazy shenanigans, people getting hurt. This privilege of ours, enjoying these cars, it can be taken away. Just like how strict the police department is in Vancouver, where they're treating car enthusiasts and modified cars like criminals. Wow. So I don't want it to get there, and we're gonna do our best with how we run our business, you know.
And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I'm a very self-motivating person. Okay, I don't need someone to pat me on the back. Alex, you're doing a great job. But you know what? Sometimes it's nice to hear that you are doing a great job. Even for the most self-motivating person that doesn't need, the recognition. So I'm telling you, whether you think that you're doing the right thing or not, I'm telling you, you're from a fly on the wall perspective, you're doing the right thing, and you just got to keep working on yourself and on the team and staying true to who you are. Right?
Yeah,
like I said, I want you to know that, because I as a business owner, I would consider myself a business owner with my detailing business, not to this level, but as a business owner, there's a lot of things that are going through your mind. There's a lot of stresses about, are we gonna achieve this and that? But you know what? For the people that stay true to what they want, that's the most important thing. And it's all gonna pay off, and we're all here to support you and the team. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's something that we're going to continue to remind ourselves. And you inspire me to just be present, and take it one day at a time. Provide value to the local community and the clients that come through here by being present, by actually giving a shit, and then the rest will take care of itself.
Exactly.
So, we're gonna start wrapping this up. I can't wait to do a round 2, because we didn't get to go really.
You want me back here, Kodawari round 2?
Of course, man. It's gonna be.
All right. It's always a good time talking with you. This has never felt like a very regimented thing where I'm like, I'm all uptight and all nervous, and I can be myself, right? This is who I am. I'm very relaxed. We're laughing. We're having a great time talking about just important, fun stuff.
Yeah,
like you talk to your friends about.
We have the same values, and we love cars, and that's all you need to. That's the beauty of having a shared interest, and finding someone who you just vibe with, and when you find a passionate group of people, it's effortless.
It really is.
doing these kind of things, and I'm super grateful to be able to do this day in, day out, is to talk to people and enthusiasts like yourself and build relationships. Yeah. So as we wrap this podcast up, you touched on how you would love to win Best of Show one day. Are there any specific shows that you would love to enter Gabby when she's in her final form? And compete for Best of Show? Yeah.
Well, first of all, a very special thank you goes to my dad. For someone who's not into cars, he came all the way to the United States with me, to AutoCon, New York. We met up with my good friend Quincy and his brother Clarence, who have some spectacular builds. Again, I want you guys to superimpose their cars in Vancouver. We're talking like Veris wide body kit, special paint job. Quincy was actually featured in by Larry Chen.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
nice.
It's very, very special build. It's one of my best friends, Quincy.
What car?
STI hatch.
Oh,
but it's a little bit different than mine, but to the extreme.
Yeah.
Right. Again, if Larry Chen wanted to take a picture, it's got to be special. So I want you guys to superimpose his car. But I remember my dad and I meeting up with Quincy and Clarence in Times Square, New York. We were driving through with my Subaru hatch prior to the cage, and what an experience that was. AutoCon, New York. But I'd love to, take my car to California for some of like the Stance Nation shows and stuff like that. But, a big but, the dream that a lot of us have is, well, at least for myself, speaking for myself, I would love to have my car debut, especially after Alex at Spage Sport does the crazy custom carbon wide body kit on it. I want it to debut at SEMA. It deserves the attention. I'm one of those people where I'm very low key. Even as the car was caged and ready in that form, it looked great. I had 2 people shoot the car because I never felt like really comfortable. I never felt like I deserved it. And so I think once it's actually at that stage, I want to make a big splash, right? I want to have the most impact to inspire someone to really do something crazy. Again, this is not a sponsored build. This is all hard work for myself and the support of my parents and my friends who have contributed to this project. It's a very special project. This is a lot of time and effort with a lot of good people went into this car. So they should be as proud as it debuting as myself, right? And so, yeah, SEMA would be a really special place to debut it.
Yeah, we'll help you get there, man. We'll help you get there. It's true. Like any of these builds, it's a collective group of people, not just that one person. And
it's never been about me. It's always been a family. Again, all these parts in the car, the brakes, Alcon, right? I had to get a special arrangement with a friend of mine in the States. My mom came with me for that, right? He's as much of a part of the bill as someone like Toge Tuning, who built the car. Every single person that I've had contact with to this day has been mentioned on my forum journal and has gotten a special place as part of the build that will never be forgotten. So
yeah, I'm definitely going to have to pick your brain as to like how we can continue to learn more about the forums and kind of explore that type of community to really connect with enthusiasts.
For sure.
But yeah, no, SEMA, that's the dream.
That's the dream.
Our dream is to bring the NSX to SEMA one day.
Wow.
Sorry, the NSX to SEMA.
It's a very special place.
Yeah, I would love to get it to the level of like, kind of like what Singer has done with that Porsche platform.
Beautiful.
And maybe even drive it across the country through the States, because I know they have some beautiful roads. And
you're not worried about racking up the kilometers?
Oh no, I will be happy if I hit 1 million kilometers in that thing.
Good for you.
Because
they're meant to be driven.
For me, that thing is going to be driven as often and as
good for you.
As on all the best roads around the world.
I'm going to live vicariously through you on that, okay? I don't think I could spring it on myself to drive this thing as much as I want to say, like, Alex, cars are meant to be driven. Drive it.
Yeah, no, I plan on shipping the car all around the world to like the best driving roads, creating content and hopefully inspiring people to enjoy these cars and and build friendships and relationships along the way. And that's what
it's all about.
Yeah, that's what really does it for me. But Alex, thank you so much again for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Do you want to share your handles, your YouTube channel?
So for those of you who are interested, my Instagram is @Screamer, nothing else, Screamer the way it sounds. And I also have a YouTube channel that I put a lot of pride and passion in. Again, I wish I had started a channel earlier. I've been, like I told you, focused on the forums, but a lot of untapped community is on YouTube. So my YouTube channel is just my name. If you'd like to support me, I would really appreciate it. Subscribe, tell a friend about it. It's just my name, Alex Rei, REI.
Awesome. That's it for this episode of...
Don't say the number. We don't want to know the number of what episode this is, okay?
This episode of the KodaCast. And yeah, thank you so much. I can't wait for us to do a walk around of the car. You know how Larry Chen does Hoonigan, they do the build biology.
I do.
And I love what Larry's doing. I think he brings so much positivity to the automotive industry, showcasing all these builds and all the different stories and people all around the world that are in the car culture scene. Uh-huh. And yeah, we would love to kind of do a walk around with the build once it's
in better form,
more complete.
It's sparse right now.
Yeah, but driving this thing in was an experience I won't ever forget.
Oh,
no doors.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah,
thanks,
Alex.
What a pleasure.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I really appreciate everyone that's takes time out of their day to kind of listen to our podcast, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Okay, so thanks, Alex.
Thank you.